This isn't a conspiracy theory anymore. This is a full-blown documentary. In the title, How They Hid a President from the Entire United States. You guys gotta check this video out.
Hill to save the day on the big, beautiful bill and smacking Republican holdouts into line. He popped up at 4 separate camera stakeouts to close the deal. And of course, couldn't resist but to comment on the Biden cover-up.
We're going to start looking into this whole thing with who signed this legislation. Who signed legislation opening our border? I don't think he knew. I said there's nobody that could want an open border. Nobody. And now I find out that it wasn't him. He auto-penned it. Who was operating the autopen? No sane person would sign it. You know who signed it? Radical left lunatics that were running our country, and the autopen signed it. And they didn't want him, and they were disappointed in getting him because they wanted Bernie Sanders. And then after about 2 weeks, they said, wait a minute, this is a gift. He'll do anything.
But Democrats.
You guys do realize how deep that is. You know, it's an actual question. There was an executive bill that came across his desk, and he didn't sign it. He didn't sign it, so who did? That raises a lot of eyebrows, and a lot of people are questioning what is actually going on? What actually went on? How far and how deep does this go? We're learning that all the politics and all the Hollywood is actually involved in this. Check out my latest video, the Obama and Diddy video. But a lot of this stuff is starting to link in together, and I'm here to tell you, Trump is not looking like the bad guy. He's not.
Democrats in the media who blew their credibility by participating in the cover-up are loudly telling people there's nothing to see here.
They literally are trying to take health care, and Republicans want to fan the flames of conspiracy theories at this moment. No, thank you.
I don't think this is a time for politics, but what I will say is that this administration has cut cancer funding research, and I think that's so despicable and so disdainful.
According to a spokesman, Joe Biden's last known prostate-specific antigen test was in 2014, and his first cancer diagnosis was last Friday. Meanwhile, Joe Scarborough is saying, F you, if you dare call him Biden's lapdog.
There were plenty of days in public when he was not the best Biden ever, and
yeah,
of course, shortly
he
after,
stumbled and bumbled around, Mark. I mean, yeah, he certainly did. Donald Trump did. Other politicians did. It's actually the same case as a lot of times when I've gone in and talked to Donald Trump. That didn't seem to me to get in the way of Joe Biden being able to analyze the most important issues. And I certainly think he has a better grasp on it than probably the overwhelming majority of his critics, or certainly did when I spoke with him.
Kennedy, the media is handling this Biden cover-up in a funny way. There's factions that are breaking off. Explain how people are dealing with this.
Well, Joe Scarborough is in denial, and his words will come back to haunt him for as long as he is on the air, because he was the guy, and he's trying to kind of shellac it, gloss over it a little bit right now, give it a favorable finish, which isn't going to do any good, because when you go back and look at the original tape, he's like, this is the best Joe Biden, and he keeps going back to, and now.
Really quick, guys. If Trump was to forget his name live on air, what do you think will happen? Me and you know what will happen. So for the people that you think will be like completely oblivious to the idea of Trump losing his mind or forgetting his name on air, send this video to them, because I feel like people don't really realize how hard the media is on a Republican. People don't really realize that, and that kind of upsets me. The Democrats sit there and want to say all everybody matter, but once you tell these people that you support the other party, they treat you like you're next to dirt. That's all I'm saying.
Analysis, like his analysis is spot on. He is sharp, he is fast, and it's like, no, he was a withering vegetable who had real problems, and everyone around him knew it, and now they're all going on and off the record to a number of different authors. We've got 4 books and counting about Biden's cognitive decline that tell the opposite picture of the magical interactions that Joe Scarborough and Joe Biden had, which, you know, all you had to do was look at Joe Biden every other second of the day to know that something was terribly wrong. And the prostate cancer, the metastatic prostate cancer, that diagnosis is awful, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. You know, it's terribly sad and concerning that a family has to deal with something like that, but they have managed to politicize it. And you have to think logic would dictate that they've known about that diagnosis for a long time.
Yep.
It is incredibly inconvenient for his post-presidency because the other post-presidencies have been very lucrative in modern history, and he will not get to enjoy that. And so it feels like they kind of put that news in there because they were bookended by the Her tapes and, of course, the book that came out today, Original Sin, and they both draw a very damning portrait. So there are people who say, you know, like Sonny Hostin, like, we can't make this about politics. It's like, if this were Trump, it would be impeachment. It would be like, impeach him for what he did, you know, 75 years ago. Impeach him for everything. It would be a full nuclear holocaust. So you can't have it both ways. It's either completely political and everything is on the table, or the entire thing was a lie and we have to move on completely from the Democrat establishment.
Jessica, they're saying they never tested his prostate for cancer in the last 10 years. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do believe that. There are a lot of doctors who've been talking about the fact that now, after the age of 70, that they don't recommend that you test your PSA levels. Now, I think that if you are the commander-in-chief and the leader of the free world, you should probably have some extra tests than the average 75, 78-year-old. But you know, I have no reason to not believe them about that. And even Scott Adams, who's a good friend of Greg's and created Dilbert, who is unfortunately also dying of this same cancer, he posted a video saying he was going to pass away this summer. And he's no fan of Joe Biden, but he said it is completely feasible that they did just find out about this. And it wasn't some big cover up. And even Zeke Emanuel, who went on Morning Joe and was talking about it, said he had to have known for 10 years. A guy who actually has the same disease is saying,
So I know that these people knew that he had it. You know, they just didn't want to say it. They wanted to hide it from voters because they either wanted the vote to go to Kamala or they wanted to go to Joe Biden. Me, I'm 25 years old, man. I'm gonna be honest. I'm 25 years old. I've been knowing about that prostate since I was like 11. I knew when I was like 35 to 40 or maybe even 50 that they don't have to put their camera there. I knew that. My mom told me that. So you're gonna tell me the president of the United States didn't go get that done? At some point, you got to ask yourself, what world are we living in? Because that seems like it's a lie. I'm just gonna be honest. That just seems like a lie. Like we're living on different planets at this point, man. Let's keep going.
his story could possibly check out.
But he wasn't
So-
president. Scott Adams wasn't president.
But Scott Adams I led with, I'm not saying that someone who has the most important job in the entire world shouldn't have extra testing. I'm just saying that going to this is a massive cover-up that's been going on for years and that he knew that he had cancer and he still ran for re-election, that seems like a bridge too far. Democrats were very good at self-flagellation. It's like our favorite thing to do. I feel like Republicans, they suffer a setback, something bad happens, they just move on. They plow through, and oftentimes they go with the same behavior and they don't care. And Democrats, we love to wallow. We love to say, oh, woe is us. This is what we did here. But I understand what Hakeem Jeffries is talking about. We cannot go back. 2024 cannot be undone. There are people who won't trust the media again. That's all well and good, but we still have elections to win. And we're staring down the barrel of this GOP resolution, the big reconciliation bill, the big, beautiful bill that favors the wealthiest Americans and penalizes the poor. And Donald Trump, I get it, he's very high energy. But when you actually read the transcripts of what he's talking about, he says, oh, Joe Biden's brain is absolute mush. He has stage 9 cancer, which is not real. Oh, by the way, I just aced a cognitive test. He loves bragging about that, man, woman, person, camera, TV. And we are also supposed to believe that he's 6'3" and
Of course they're gonna lie for him.
224 pounds, which makes him an NFL wide receiver. There are, and we forgot.
Man, this dude is like 90 years old. What are we talking about? It makes him an NFL wide receiver. So if I'm 7'3", 80 years old, that makes me an NBA center. Dude.
Remember his original doctor who forged that letter about him? Like, come on here.
Come on, it's actually comparing him to this. This is a mess. Like, you have no reason to question the Dems about this. Are you out of your mind? They have the best doctors in the world and a patient who is arguably the most important patient in the world who gets tested pretty much weekly. They have to check him out, but somehow they decided not to do this. I'm wondering, do you believe that story, or is it possible the Democrats might be lying? Ooh, that's a tough call. Listen to Joe Scarborough just now, feeling like I'm watching a Dateline episode and watching the husband's alibi fall apart, and he's desperately trying to save his life because he's trying to save his job. There is a huge hole in this narrative about Joe's decline. They're trying to present themselves as a loyal staff protecting an incapacitated leader. And yet the policies were anything but feeble. He may have been a mess, but the policies were a coherent list of woke desires. And true, the decisions may have possibly destroyed the country, but that wasn't a byproduct of Biden's brain. That was deliberate and determined, and we need to find out who that person was. This is what Trump is talking about when he's mentioned the autopen. This isn't just about a cover-up of Joe's incapacity. It's why. A debilitated...
Greg just hit the nail right on the head. You know, he just cracked the case wide open. Biden's decline wasn't inconvenient for the left. It was more useful. The reason I say that is they didn't want a leader. They wanted a meat puppet. And Kamala Harris fit that role perfectly. She literally fit the role perfectly. Let's keep going.
Biden was an ideal Biden. It wasn't a consequence, it was a benefit. If you have a feeble CEO, then the underlings can do exactly what they wanted. And it answers that huge paradox that we were wondering for 4 years. How did a candidate running as a reasonable centrist, a moderate, end up as the most left-wing progressive president in history? I just told you the answer. The debilitation was deliberate. And the ideas that we saw coming happened because of that. They embraced his infirmity. It was necessary for all this to happen. And now what they're trying to do is an emotional pivot away from our outrage to sympathy, and it won't work. It won't work.
A weak president is dangerous, but the people who propped him up, they're worse. Never forget that. And that's why I think Trump is in office for an exact reason, and God knows why he put him there. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're new. And as always, let me know what you react to. We're out.